Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
It's never too early to set expectations and goals for your child's education. The UA College Savings Plan provides opportunities that can help you reach your educational savings goals. Save in Alaska. Study anywhere. There is more information available by calling 1-888, the number 4, and then Alaska. This message sponsored by the UA College Savings Plan.
The National Weather Service.
Hello everyone, and thanks again for joining us here at KAKM Studios for Monday's edition of Alaska Weather. Up first here on the warning chart, face the right way, out here along the coast we've got high surf advisories here for the Bristol Bay coastline, right up across the Yukon and Kuskokwim Delta coasts for tonight into tomorrow, Nunivak Island and those areas for pretty high surf, could cause some minor beach erosion in those areas. And there's a snow advisory out for the Susitna Valley for tonight into tomorrow for 3 to 6 inches of snow, which increases to possibly as high as 22 inches you get up toward the park there. Otherwise, a lot of red shaded areas there over the western and in the north. This is all winter storm warnings here with still some blizzard warnings out. This evening, St. Lawrence Island, Seward Peninsula, and up over the northwest areas for occasional whiteout conditions, snow and blowing snow going on there. Otherwise, winter storm warnings mostly for snow and some areas of blowing snow here through the western areas, 6 to 8 inches, and then all that shifting eastward, snow already spreading into the central interior areas with still looking at 6 to 8 inches of snow here for the southeastern Brooks Range down into the upper Yukon Valley with fair amounts of snow extending back across the Koyukuk Valley and again all the way out to the northwest coast where the gusty winds until the front pushes through will keep near blizzard conditions at least into tonight. And then up here over the north slope and the western Arctic coast there from Barrow or Licktock on down to Point Lay, or actually Cape Lisburne. Those are winter weather advisories for blowing snow, which occasionally could reduce visibilities down to half a mile at times. And then down to the south, 3 to 6 inches of snow there in the forecast for the Mid-Tanana Valley or the greater Fairbanks area. And then here the red area along the Alaska Range, that's high wind warnings out for 70-mile-an-hour winds there through the passes of the entire stretch of the Alaska Range, and a snow advisory for the northern Koyukuk Valley, where McGrath today picked up apparently about 6 to 8 inches of snow today, carrying moderate to occasionally heavy snow at times throughout the afternoon, and currently with 23 inches on the ground. And the satellite imagery from yesterday showing that big storm here coming into the western Aleutians with the front driving east and northeast into the southwest and central Bering Sea throughout the day yesterday. And looking ahead to today, we'll see that system back to the west here is pulling up into the west central Bering Sea, actually the low center tracking northeastward there, just northwest of the Pribilof Islands, getting some 60 to 80 mile per hour wind gusts there here from the St. Paul, St. George area. And earlier today, AKwx had a couple of wind gusts to 83 miles per hour. And then with the main front as it came on shore, Cape Newenham seeing gusts from the south at 77 miles per hour, and pretty windy in Bethel as well, with peak gusts around 55 miles per hour. Then up to the north here, looks like I had picture time here at 2 p.m. The front was right along this area, this dark shaded region right there, usually the sinking air mass, subsiding air right behind the front. So that kind of indicates it's lifted past the Bering Strait and pushing inland. But today, Selawik from the Selawik Valley on out across Kotzebue Sound, seeing pretty stiff east winds gusting as high as 55 miles per hour there at Kotzebue. And then snow coming across south central Alaska into Prince William Sound, Seward carrying some snow, but warmer air on those southerly winds, rain in Homer, rain in Iliamna, looking at rain across the Alaska Peninsula there, and just some variable clouds over the Kodiak Island area. Otherwise, on the southeast coast, you had some showers scooting off to the southeast there. A pretty sunny day here across all of the Panhandle with cool temperatures and a lot of mid and high level clouds on the increase here over the eastern interior. And again, the snow advancing eastward toward the mid-Tanana Valley and, of course, again, spreading across Prince William Sound. On the chart today, quite a gradient in advance of this front. The winds are blasting through Turnagain Arm out of the east this afternoon. And again, with the warm front, rain spreading up to the southern Kenai Peninsula and then back to the west across the southern Kuskokwim Delta areas, mostly in the form of showers here. And then the snow and blowing snow up over the northwest interior with a pretty good shot of snow again from the McGrath area on up to the Seward Peninsula, with just higher clouds here off to the east, and then the fair skies down across the southeast coast there. Big area high pressure in over the Northwest Territories, and then back out to the west, those strong southwest winds, a lot of showers here in the form of rain there across the Pribilof Islands. 2 isolated thunderstorms here coming on shore as the colder unstable air moves right up to the southwest coast there, and then back out to the west, the colder air sliding southeastward there into the western Aleutians. That dropped the temperatures back below freezing out at Chimia with some snow showers. And the forecast for tonight, see the low continues northeastward there just south of St. Lawrence Island. Prairies of snow, blowing snow here continuing from the Yukon Delta with the worst conditions from the Seward Peninsula up across the Northwest Valley areas out to the western Arctic coast. Front edging its way eastward right up to the Alaska Range here over just about over King Salmon roughly, and down to the south with rain in advance of that up into southern Cook Inlet. Rain developing for Seward, could see some or probably rain or rain and snow mixed here Prince William Sound. Snow in the northern Cook Inlet areas from Kenai on up to Anchorage, Palmer, Wasilla, becoming mixed with rain after midnight. Up to the north though, that'll be mostly in the form of snow, and again the heavier snow is beginning to spread eastward and up to the southeastern Brooks Range, but the eastern Arctic coast areas and all the way over to about Wainwright should be on the dry side there, but winds will be on the increase. And there could be a little bit of moisture here in the form of clouds slipping into the northern and central southeast coast, but should stay definitely dry and mostly clear down over the southern areas. The high pressure area sliding off to the southeast there, and the other one out here off the coast. So kind of getting into a stable air mass situation there for the Panhandle, which could lead to some fog maybe late tomorrow or definitely tomorrow night. Could get into some areas of fog here across the southeast coast, and that's about the only change you'll be looking at, with varying amounts of mid and high level clouds sliding into the northern areas there. But the front itself for tomorrow's kind of stalled out here. Back to the west, western Cook Inlet to the Alaska Range is this strong area of high pressure over the northeast Pacific, kind of directs everything from south to north, but the main front itself pushing up to about the Arctic coast tomorrow. Lots of and low center tracking up to the Bering Strait there, western Seward Peninsula. So snow, blowing snow conditions there from the northwest valleys again across the Seward Peninsula back out to St. Lawrence Islands. Pretty good westerly winds in that area, and then lighter winds diminishing throughout the day here along the southwest coast with snow showers and chance of rain Kodiak Island, but better chances of rain here across the Alaska Peninsula, and that all sliding up into especially western Cook Inlet. We see the heaviest precipitation there, lesser amounts due to the downsloping wind components there coming off the mountainous areas here, the Kenai Peninsula and Chugach. So not looking for a lot of precipitation in the Anchorage area tomorrow. Kind of a mixed condition there developing here over the Matanuska and into the Susitna valleys. Lots of snow showers out here over the Bering Sea, and some of those sliding into the central Aleutian areas. And then down off the map here, we've got low pressure area. You can see the warm front right there, and that's going to rapidly move northward tomorrow night, and by Tuesday or Wednesday afternoon, come up to just near Sitkinak there, the low center, about 993 millibar center, and that's going to pull even warmer and more warmer air Warmer, more moist air will come northward with that, so gale force winds with rain heavy at times, Kodiak Island, right up along the North Gulf Coast, and some of that getting into Prince William Sound with rain back into northeastern Bristol Bay there. Warm front up in this area, kind of a mixture of rain and snow along that with snow. Periods of there for the Kuskokwim Valley right up across the Koyukuk Valleys, eastward along the southeastern Brooks Range area. Snow showers back to the west, that main low up over the Chukchi Sea now, and weakening to about 996 millibars, so the winds with it for Wednesday not really much of a factor at all. And again, fair skies, sunshine here over the southeast coast, but areas of low clouds and fog there. With the light gradient, the colder air at the surface, and kind of some higher freezing levels developing there over the area. And then back out to the west, another intense storm brings strong gales and storm force winds into the western and then central Aleutians. Southeast winds 50 to 60 knots in the forecast for those marine areas there, with a lot of rain associated with that system as well. Temperatures southeast coast today looked like this, mid to upper 20s here over the northern areas, upper 30s down to the south, 37 both at Kawak and Annette, with 36 at Sitka, 28 this afternoon in Juneau, 27 over at Cordova. Valdez, 21 degrees, Gulkana, 0, but 5 above over at Northway. And you can see here the warming temperatures, 42 in Homer, and then just 24 at Kenai, so the warm front somewhere right in between there, 20 degrees in Anchorage, kind of a range here in the Susitna Valley with 14 at Squintna, while at the same time Talkeetna had 32. Back down to the south, Iliamna at 36, mid-40s Kodiak Island, mid to upper 40s out over the Alaska Peninsula. Up to the north, 11 degrees there at Fairbanks, 9 at Delta, 9 also at Tanana, 3 below Battles, 0 over at Fort Yukon. Arctic Village, 27 below this afternoon, while 33 below was recorded at Umiat. Well below 0 here, central eastern Arctic coast, but warming temperatures back out to the west into the lower to mid-teens here over the northwest. Mid to upper 20s there at Nome and Golovin, with temperatures rising above freezing here, even over the Yukon Delta. 34 at St. Mary's, 36 in Bethel, but 15 there at Homer, and then down Sparivon up to 34 degrees. Temperatures above freezing across St. Lawrence Island now. And for the southwest areas of Pribilofs, with all the rain or all the wind, lower 40s, 42 Cape Newenham, 43 at King Salmon, mid to upper 40s as I mentioned across the Alaska Peninsula, dropping down to near 30 out towards Shemya. For the lows tonight, still below 0 here, but actually rising throughout the evening with increasing cloud cover, 13 below there at Arctic Village, and a little below 0 here for the Arctic coast. And quite a contrast as you head southwest, lows right around the frost point there for Nome, back down toward Unalakleet as well as Savunga. 30s to near 40 here as you head south to the Alaska Peninsula, and temperatures continuing to rise here across south central Alaska into the upper 20s. But kind of staying chilly over the Copper River Basin, but mostly above 0. Lows in the teens and 20s there for the Panhandle. Highs for tomorrow, upper 30s to near 40 here for the southeast coastal areas, and big jump in temperatures up into the lower 40s here across south central Alaska. Mid 30s or upper 20s to mid 30s for the Tanana Valley areas, and temperatures above freezing all the way up to just about Kotzebue Sound there, back into St. Lawrence Island. Single numbers up across the eastern Arctic coast, 40s over the Alaska Peninsula, and 30s over the Aleutians. Flying weather, it should stay VFR here for the southeast coast, but IFR, Prince William Sound, Kenai Peninsula, and up across the Susitna Valley to the Alaska Range and back to the west. More IFR up over the central interior, especially along the southeastern Brooks Range area, back to the west, and then IFR over the northern Bering Sea. Marginal conditions all the way down into Bristol Bay, Kodiak Island, areas of marginal VFR out to the west. Passes for Anatuvik, marginal becoming IFR, and that same trend for Adigan, marginal conditions to start with becoming IFR. Lake Clark and Merrill, IFR. IFR for Rainy, also for windy, marginal VFR with IFR conditions on the southern entrance, a little better to the north. Isabel, with that south to north flow, that'll put the IFR here on the southern entrance. And from Mentasta, though, should stay VFR. and Tenedo looking occasionally marginal, Portage occasionally IFR. For Chilkoot and White, VFR, at least for another day. And for the freezing levels, late tonight, early tomorrow morning, 2,000 feet up here off the Yukon Delta coast, otherwise the main 2,000 foot line across Bristol Bay. And again, coming northward here into south central Alaska, 4,000 to 6,000 feet here showing up off the Panhandle. Icing tomorrow, again, the frontal boundary right through here. Look for occasional moderate, light to isolated moderate rime icing with some a little more widespread moderate rime icing possible here in northeast Bristol Bay, northern Prince William Sound, and then up into the interior. Icing below about 9,000 feet here over the Koyukuk Valley back to the west there, western Arctic coast down to the Yukon Delta coast, and some more icing out here, areas of over the western Bering Sea and the Aleutians. Big area high pressure here out over the northeast Pacific, so that's directing the jet right up into Alaska at about 120 knots from the southwest, taking a turn to the east here into Canada. And 9,000 foot winds, south to north flow 35 to 40 knots, Kodiak Island, western Gulf of Alaska, 50 to 65 knots here over the Copper River Basin back to the Susitna Valley. Strong winds still out over the west there, much lighter winds now coming up for the Aleutians. 3,000 foot winds, southerlies 40 knots here across the Yukon Delta up to the Seward Peninsula, and a big fetch here south to north 35 to 50 knots right in across the Copper River Basin back to Kodiak Island. Lighter winds over the Panhandle. Turbulence wise, occasional moderate chop here from the Alaska Range or the eastern upper Tanana Valley areas back across south central Alaska to Kodiak Island, also along the northwest coast all the way down to Nunivak Island. And after the break, hangar flying, I'll be back with a look at the marine forecasts.
Good evening, I'm Harry Keeling, and on behalf of Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation and Alaska Public Media, welcome to Hangar Flying. Last time, if you tuned in, you would have seen Dr. Melchor Antuñano. Dr. Antuñano is the chief of the Civil Aerospace Medical Institute, and he shared with us some of his first impressions of Alaska. Also, Dr. Mel was the speaker at our fall safety seminar on Saturday the 21st here in Anchorage. In recognition of the fact that many of you around the state obviously couldn't come to that seminar, we've taped a few sessions with Dr. Mel to talk about the topics that he covered in the seminar. So let's get started. Dr. Mel, welcome back.
Thank you.
So the first topic you talked about, and I'd like to have you say a few words about, is safety and survivability in general aviation.
Yes, and that's one of my favorite topics because obviously we have the safest mode of transportation in aviation compared to any other mode of public transportation. But we still have some issues that we need to address. So we are constantly trying to make changes to improve safety in the entire national airspace system. So in this particular presentation, I talk about certain areas that continue to be causes for incidents, causes for accidents, so that we can actually concentrate on preventive actions so that we don't continue having those kind of problems. And to give an example, which is applicable to Alaska, we continue to have incidents and accidents related to bad weather. And bad weather may have certain characteristics here in Alaska, but in different parts of the United States, they will have specific features, like for example in Oklahoma we have tornadoes, and also we have big size hail. So we can go from the size of a grape to a grapefruit size hail. So, but we need to recognize that based on the area where you operate, where you have to be prepared to deal with issues such as that. We have also issues related, for example, to the increased number of volcanic eruptions that will continue happening. There is a forecast for the next 30 years, how progressively we're having more and more volcanic eruptions. Well, we know that here in Alaska, there are many volcanoes that are active. And in fact, if you remember, we had the issue on New Zealand a couple of years ago there, where the explosion of one volcano essentially paralyzed air traffic between United States or America and Europe. So that there are new technologies, new developments that can help monitor what happens with volcanic ash. Well, that continues to be another safety issue. We have issues, for example, with bird strikes. Bird strikes, if you look at the statistics for the last 15 years, including the current year, we keep having more and more impacts with birds. And there are several reasons for that. Number one, we are protecting more the environment, therefore we are protecting birds. There are more birds flying, we have more airplanes flying, so we can expect that there will be more mid-air collisions with birds. But one of the interesting results of that is that now with new materials that we use for aircraft, now the consequences of those impacts are not as severe as they used to be before. Now you have less damage because of composite materials or carbon fiber, but you still have the impacts. And in fact, if you want to make it very specific, well, we had the Hudson River accident. What brought that airplane down? It was birds. I also talk about issues such as airport operations, where we continue to have some incidents related to that. In the process of taxiing, we still have runway incursions. We have issues, for example, related to lasers. And I'm talking about your typical laser pointer, particularly those green lasers that we use for presentations and I use for presentations. We are having international problems with that, where people on the ground are pointing lasers at pilots in flight. And in fact, we have done some research at the Institute related to that, what are the consequences of exposing pilots to a laser in flight. Last year alone, we had more than 2,000 incidents only in the United States of people pointing lasers at airplanes in flight, and of course affecting pilots in the cockpit. We have had temporary flash blindness of pilots. We have had other visual impacts on the pilots that are not conducive to safety. Then we have also in the area, once again, of potential hazards that we have to deal with. Not just the weather as extreme as can happen here in Alaska, but we're having an increased number of incidents related to clear air turbulence. And obviously weather patterns around the world are changing. So now we're having turbulence that you cannot identify, you cannot predict, except now there are new developments. For example, there is a new laser technology that in a clear sky can anticipate whether or not you're going to hit turbulence. So we continue to have injuries of occupants of aircraft just because of unexpected turbulence. We have obviously other issues related to aspects such as cockpit automation. That cockpit automation obviously has improved the level of safety.
Let's save that because we're running out of time.
Okay.
I've got about 30 seconds left, but that's one of the topics. In fact, maybe if I can get you on another time, we'll go ahead and tape one, and we'll talk about human factors and safety issues in cockpit augmentation.
Very good.
Thank you for all of the things that you guys are doing and sharing it with our audience tonight. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed tonight's program. Again, I'd ask you to tune in next time, and we'll talk about one of the other topics that Dr. Mel talked about, and that's cockpit automation. I think you'll find it very interesting. Until next time, fly safe.
Welcome back. Well, pretty light variable winds in over the inside waters for tomorrow. Winds gradually becoming south to about 15 for northern Lynn Canal. West to southwest 15 for most of the coast except the south coast, northwest up to 20 with 7-foot seas. Looking ahead to Wednesday, still no change up here over the northern areas, and about 10 to 15 knots, variable directions there northwest for Clarence Strait. And now easterly winds on the central and south coast, or the south coast at about 15. A little bit higher here from the southeast, maybe up to 20 knots with 8 to 9-foot seas. North Gulf Coast right into Prince William Sound tomorrow, southerlies at 25 knots. Small craft advisories for the western Gulf Coast here into the Barren Islands. And then gales up along the east side of Kodiak Island. South winds 35 knots. Same thing for Kamishak Bay, 30 knots southerlies. Actually, small craft advisories all at Cook Inlet tomorrow for those south winds and back across Shelikof Strait. For Wednesday, again, that next pretty potent storm coming up toward southern Kodiak Island. Good gales here, 40 knots to 35 knots for the Barren Islands. Easterlies, 35 knots into Kamishak Bay, and gales developing here all along the North Gulf Coast. East to southeast, 30 knots for Prince William Sound, and northeast 15 for northern Cook Inlet. For Bristol Bay, southwest 15 to 20 for the Alaska Peninsula, and then southerly gales here southwest of Sitkinak. Then for Wednesday's outlook, again, that storm center right about in this area, so east to northeast here, 35 knot gales there for the area southwest of Sitkinak, northwest 35 For the south side of the Alaska Peninsula, or the marine zone here, much lighter up to the north, and small craft advisories for Bristol Bay. Aleutians, west 20 becoming northwest. Otherwise for tomorrow, not too bad. Southwest 15 to 20 knots for the Fox Islands. And then the next big storm enters the picture late tomorrow night and into Wednesday. Southeast 60 knots, 55 to 60 knot winds here for the AKwx areas. Northeast 55 knots for the far western zone. And gales pushing in toward the Kulski, but 20 to 30 knot westerlies for most of the day for the Fox Islands. Up along the southwest coast, 30 knots there with 17-foot seas. Westerly gales, St. Lawrence Island, small craft advisories for the Pribilofs, and much lighter winds in store for the St. Paul, St. George area on Wednesday. In fact, lighter winds all areas, still holding on to small craft advisories for St. Lawrence Island. Up along the Arctic coast, brisk wind advisories here all along the coastline for easterly winds. Small craft advisories Wales to Cape Thompson, heavy freezing spray. Then they'll swing around to the southwest here, that low center in that area, northwest 15 up to the north. Easterlies for the central and western coast, south 15 to 20 for the east side. And for tonight, again, all the snow, blowing snow up over the northwest and interior areas. Have winter storm warnings through much of the interior for snow that's spreading eastward. Kind of a mixed condition developing over south central Alaska. Snow advisory in the Susitna Valley. And that front really doesn't make much eastward progress here to the south, but advances up to the Arctic coast. So snow through this area, still pretty windy with snow and blowing snow, Seward Peninsula and Kotzebue Sound. Snow showers out to the west. And then for Wednesday, fair over the Panhandle, areas of fog. Here comes warmer air and rain up toward the North Gulf Coast, and then the big storm coming into the Aleutians. That's a look at the weather. Thanks for joining us.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.